Hello, my friend, and welcome to the 437th episode of the Sales Podcast. I'm Wes Schaefer, the Sales Whisperer, your host. Today, we have former Procter & Gamble dude. He also became a Forbes 30 under 30 entrepreneur. His name is Kenn Costales. Smart guy who says, go big to earn big sales. And I could not agree more. As we kick this off, I am recording this intro April 3rd, 2020, my 50th birthday, sitting here in quarantine. Fun. So I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a little behind on a couple of episodes. Been busy. No more jiu-jitsu for now, but I've been running. I've run actually 8 days in a row. I haven't run 8 days in 8 years. So there's some good coming out of this, but, this is no joke. Fortunately, I've worked from home for 20 years. I worked from home in my own business since late 2006. We've homeschooled since about 12 years, roughly, so somewhere around 08, 09. So it's not really all that different for us. And I have a lot of residual income, which helps. I've landed some new clients, which helps. But this thing is tough. A friend of ours, our neighbor, former Marine, 15-year veteran of the Riverside County Sheriff's Department, died of this COVID-19. So this stuff's real, and we should not make light of it. But we should not let it get us down. You can have a down moment. We're human. Jesus cried. Right, when Lazarus died, but you keep going, okay? You should be using this time to reevaluate what the heck's going on, where your life is headed, where your business is headed. Are you taking things for granted? Are you putting things off? Are you delaying things you know you should be doing? Are you taking your health for granted? My friend Terrell was not in good shape, and that contributed to his death. You got to take things seriously. We only get one shot at this. Enjoy the donut, but have one, not 10. Enjoy the cookie, have one, not a dozen. You got to take care of your health, your physical health, but your spiritual health. In my sales training, I've always said, I'm working on your psyche. I want you strong to stay the course, right? To stay in the fight. It is a fight, and because others, less scrupulous salespeople and entrepreneurs and business owners, take shortcuts, they lie. And so our prospects think we're out there to rip them off, to steal from them, and that's not the case. Not for you, at least, is why you listen to this. But our prospects think they're in a battle. It's literally like you got a wounded puppy you find on the side of the road, right? Injured puppy, and puppy doesn't know you're there to help them, so they snarl and growl and bite the hand that feeds them. So you have to approach carefully, right? Protecting yourself while trying to calm the fears of your prospect. They've been hurt. So stay vigilant, okay? Hey, you like a Netflix series? Fine, watch it. But don't watch 12 in a row, Everything in moderation. Have some downtime. By all means, have some downtime. Rest. Have some hobbies. Learn to play the guitar. Take jiu-jitsu. Go surfing. Take a long nap. All right, but if anything, I hope this shelter in place is teaching you what's really important and what isn't. We've had more meals together as a family. We've gone on more walks. We've made more puzzles in the last 2 weeks than the last 2 years. And I work from home, work for myself, but kids are in sports, academic things. They have jobs. They have boyfriends and girlfriends. They have friends coming over. It's, we're just running around. We're busy. And I don't even have a commute. I can't imagine how people handle it. Both spouses work outside the home. My wife's been home for 25 years, and we're still super busy. So, use this time. Take this time to learn, to grow, identify the weaknesses, the gaps, identify where you've been misappropriating your time, misallocating your time and your resources. When we bounce back, and we will, it's time to build that rainy day fund. Okay? And got to get serious about some things. And also have some fun. I've had more funny memes and moments with my military buddies and friends. Literally laugh out loud, just sitting there chuckling at my phone. And I've got some plans for the sales podcast. I've got a few guests already I've interviewed, so I'm going to release them. But I'm going to do a little more monologues, some book reviews, going deep in some subjects around mental toughness, planning, things like that. So stay tuned for that. All right. But Kenn, he's a great dude. You're going to get a lot out of this, how he built his company, up to 20 employees now, focusing on e-commerce. Talks about always be selling, how to spy on your competitors. All right. So you're in for a treat. So I know it was a little somber opening. I just want you to I want to be real with you. I'm always real, but we got some serious things going on. I don't want to discount them, all right? But I also want you to live fully. That means selling well. Being able to sell has given me the income and the cushion and the freedom to weather this storm so far. So it's not self-serving. It's not callous to be focusing on this right now. You need to focus on this. You've got to sell your way out of this issue, or as a nation, we've got to grow out of this. So it's by having business and commerce, it gives us the resources to address the things we need to address. All right. So dig in, take notes. If you have questions, hit me up. theimplementors.com is our free group. If you go to 30daysalesgrowth.com, enter promo code April. It's a 50% off discount for month to month or even the full year. So it's up to you. It's still super affordable. All right. So 30daysalesgrowth.com, promo code April. Now let's bring on our guest. Kenn Costales woke up early from Singapore via the Philippines. I looked you up. Switzerland, right? World traveler, cosmopolitan man, entrepreneur, Forbes 30 under 30. Man, thanks for carving out time to be with little old me. Welcome to the show. How the heck are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good, man. You're a trooper getting up so early. I could have been more accommodating, but hey, it's all
No,
good,
I'm good.
man.
I'm good.
So you've worked with some big names like Procter and Gamble and
Mhm.
others, but you own your own business now, right? Um,
Yep.
Monolith Growth, right?
Yep. Yep. That's correct. So work
Monolith.
for. Mhm.
What
Yeah.
is that, man? That's like a big thing that just dominates its space. Is that you? You just dominate the e-commerce social media marketing space?
Well, it's a bit funny because it took me what 5 or 10 seconds to think of that name because the first instinct that I had was, well, I want to make a big company. So what's a good synonym for big? Monolith. Okay, let's just use that. So that's how literally I chose the name for the business. So it's not just like a consulting business, but technically the legal name is Monolith Growth Ventures. So we have some things cooking up in the pipeline. Like we're planning to launch some software and all that. But the consulting business or the agency business is going to be our cash cow or our main source of income for the first few years.
Gotcha. And did you just quit your job and jump into it? Were you building this on the side before you launched?
That's a that's a good question. I was actually working on 2 to 3 different business ideas before I launched Monolith Growth Consulting. And to your question, I actually quit first and then I started testing out. So it was a bit of a wild decision
Yeah.
where okay, I'm done with this. I've been here for about 4 years. I was, I think, 26 at that time, and I was like, okay, if I want to take some risks, better to do it now before I get married and all that. So let me just do it. I had a couple, not two, but three failures. Took me a year until I found this agency business, and here I am. So that's like a quick summary of my story.
So walk me through those failures, though. Was it
Yeah,
in the
sure.
same space? Were you doing something different? You know, the famous word, did you pivot?
Well, I did something completely different. So I think the first thing that I did was, so it's it's one of those tech startup things. And what I was working on is, so in the US, there's Uber, right? In this area in Southeast Asia, we have this company called Grab. So Grab or Grab Taxi. So it's basically an app where it connects like different uh like all sorts of taxi business connected to consumers. Now we were working on a competitor to that. So I was working on it with a couple of other guys. It was a bit of a spontaneous decision almost, because the way I evaluated it was, okay, these guys have complementary skills as I am. I don't really know them that much, but they seem to be high integrity guys. So I just jumped in and joined their team as a co-founder. Long story short, it didn't work out. So I think in terms of thought processes and ideologies, we were very different on how we wanted to run the business. Yeah, there were results, but I felt like on a long-term standpoint, it was better that I run my own show and I lead the business on my own instead of partnering with a couple of other folks. So I think that's a quick summary of the first one. Second one, I did alone. So I tried to start my own software business by actually learning how to code. So I know HTML, CSS, Ruby on Rails, JavaScript, all those are programming languages. And I just realized that, okay, this is taking a lot of time on my plate because I was doing blogging, I was trying to get customers through content because I was doing, you asked a while back about on whether or not I had a book or an ebook. I used to have one way back in 2016. I've stopped that now because it's a bit outdated. So I use that to generate leads for the software business and the course business which I was working on. But long story short, that took too much time because my cash was like dwindling. So I had about, I think, 3 or 4 months of savings left. And I'm like, okay, what's something that can get results now? And I thought of the service business. So I tried that out. I was a one-man show for about 3 or 4 months. I started getting more and more clients, and now we're a team of about 20, spread across mostly in Philippines, because that's kind of like my hometown, and most of the accounts management folks are there. Some folks in Singapore, some folks in Vietnam on the development side. So it's kind of a Southeast Asian company, not necessarily just Singapore company or Philippines company, but that's how like things have evolved over time for me. It's not really like, okay, this is one vertical I need to focus on. I was like mixing up and trying out different business ideas and just found the one
So,
which worked for me.
yeah, so let's go back to that.
Yeah.
So you were coding, right? So you're
Yeah.
trying to get just what, web development, software, app development kind of clients?
So for the software bit, what I tried to do there was I tried to build an inventory management software, because at least I had some knowledge on e-commerce from my corporate job, and I knew some folks in the area that are interested in or are in retail rather, and a lot of them aren't using inventory management software at that time, so they were just
Oh,
doing things
in
using pen and paper.
you're saying inventory management.
Yes, that's
Okay,
correct.
got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
Um, mhm.
yeah. So, all right. So that makes sense. I mean, because you had some experience from Procter and Gamble with that, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, cool. So, and then, yeah, it's hard, right? It's hard being a one man show. And, but then,
Mm-hmm.
so you made the change. So you got 3 months salary
Yep, left.
and, and so was it consulting you jumped into or what exactly was it?
So the first thing I sold was Facebook ads management. So I was helping an e-commerce
And how
business.
did you know that?
Um, Good question.
Were you teaching yourself as you went or did you have some background in that?
I would say it's half half in a sense that I did learn a lot of marketing principles from Procter and Gamble. So I understood the frameworks, how do marketing funnels look like, and all those good stuff. But in terms of the exact mechanics of Facebook ads, that's all self-taught. So what I did prior to selling the service was that I bought a course, but didn't like jump in and get a client after buying that course. So I learned it, and the next thing that I did was because I thought to myself, hey, I need case studies, and I have zero case studies. Sure, I can talk about the whole Procter and Gamble thing, but no one cares. They care about results, right? So what I did next was that I did things for free. So I helped my friends in terms of Facebook ads management. I helped some nonprofits with social media management as well, and then use that as case studies to sell to my first client. So that's how the sequence was towards getting my first client. So my first client, I wasn't coming in like blind. Yeah, I learned from a course, but it has been tested from proven businesses and people.
Right, but you only had 3 or 4 months of income or
Mm-hmm.
expenses saved up. So, I mean, did you just work with your friends and nonprofits for a month or two to start getting some track record? I mean, was it that quick?
Mm, so just to give you the timeline, so it was about so it's actually not like 3 months. I got my first client when I had 3 months of income left. Um,
Oh, okay.
yeah. So just to tell you the timeline, January 2000 and I think 16, January 2016, that's when I had about 7 or 8 months of income left. So I was looking at August 2016 as my deadline.
Hmm.
So at that point in time, I then started to at least the way I thought about it was okay. I need to generate as many options as possible. Like I shouldn't just go all in on the software business. So I was working a software business at that time. So apart from working on a software business, which was like really the 9 to 5, at night I was working on learning Facebook ads management. I was also thinking that hey, I think I'm pretty good on the consulting side. A lot of friends have recommended me to do more consulting. So I was like, okay, let me just play it safe and do two things at the same time. So from January 2016 up until May 2016, I was trying to make the software business work, but at the same time, I was building all these skills, doing some pro bono work. So in the case that okay, on May 2016, I don't not I don't, but I have little money left, like I only have 3 to 4 months left, then I'll try out the consulting business. And and things went well because after a month of trying to market that business, so from May to June, I got my first client by that time. So that's how the timeline kind of worked at that.
Nice.
Yeah,
So, when you were helping your friends and nonprofits, how much
yeah.
time was that taking? I mean, like an hour a day, an hour a week, 10 hours a day? Were you grinding away?
Mm-hmm. Uh, so my schedule at the time was I start work at 9 up until 5 or 6 p.m. I would have some quick dinner and I would work from I think 7:30 or 8 up until 12. So I was working on it for about 3 to 4 hours. 4 hours on a good day, maybe 2 to 3 hours normally.
Um, so, okay, so you were basically doing it. It was a side hustle essentially that you would
Yeah,
you would do at night for them.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly. It was more of a side hustle.
And were these U.S. based clients, international? Were they all over?
They were all over because I found them in really weird sources. So I think for client number one, I found him through this marketplace, so it's premium marketplace. It's called cloudpeeps.com. So they get like the best of the best freelancers, and then they connect
Cloud,
them
is
with
it Cloud
business.
Peeps with a P?
Yeah, Peeps. So Cloud Peeps. So I
Okay.
found them through that. So it's a US client. That's my first client. My
Is that
second
is that
client,
like is it a nicer or an upscale version of Upwork, kind of?
yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So people charge higher rates in general there. So that's where client number one came from. Client number two came from a podcast guesting that I did way back in 2016. So I was on a Shopify podcast, and one of the listeners heard me from that podcast because I was talking about Facebook ad funnels at that time. He reached out to me, bought my book because I did have a book that time on Facebook ads management, and we went on a good deal. So that's my client number two. Client number three, I think, where was client number three? Client number three was, I think, through yeah, and I remember it was through a sponsored newsletter. So there was a newsletter that was targeting founders. I paid, I think, about $200 at that time to get to put my listing there. My listing was about, hey, if you're an e-commerce business, I'll give you a free audit, and that was where client three came from. Over time, it just built because I was just trying out all these different channels. Um, I wouldn't say there's one channel that worked best for me. I would say they all worked equally well for me. So that was pretty interesting. Nowadays, my business runs on referrals, which is amazing. So after I think a year or two of just hustling in terms of outbound marketing, a lot of my existing clients are very happy with our work and now have started referring clients to us. So that's how the marketing plan looked like over the years.
Yeah, I always tell people, I don't know how to get you 30 clients, but I know 30 ways to get you one client,
Yeah.
right? So kind of the
Mhm.
same thing with you.
Yep, exactly. Like I was just okay. Here's a method that this guy has done. He says it's working out for him. Let me just try it. Like no question. Just take action because I have 3 months of salary left, right? So there was this urgency to do something. Like I don't have time to think. Like just do something. Try it out. If it fails, at least you sleep at night knowing that hey, I took action today, right? Instead of just overthinking and not doing anything at all.
How did you know how much to charge?
That's a good question. I charge really, really low at the start. So starting from free, because the way I thought about it was, okay, I'll I'll keep pricing up until the point that I get about 20 or 30% of prospects asking me why. So I think for the very first few months, I was because I was also embarrassed that time in a sense that okay, I shouldn't be charging way too much. Um, and what I did to get a baseline was I actually stalked through a whole bunch of agency sites because there's a trick in Google where you can do SITE site and then you put an agency site there, and you can also search uh, only PDFs that this website has through file type colon PDF. So that's what I did because I guessed that hey maybe these agency sites have a PDF that's hidden in their search database. So I found some price lists from a couple of agencies and I just took the average of that. So I took that and then I just kept pricing up as I went, as I started growing the business.
So your free clients, your
Mhm.
friends, your nonprofits,
Yeah.
were you getting them results from the beginning?
Um, so for the Facebook ads guy, which is client number one, yes. So in terms of results that we generate for this guy, so it was a e-commerce business in Virginia. So they were selling like floating sunglasses because it's targeted for scuba divers. So if you're not scuba divers, fishermen, etc. So if you're fishing and your glasses fall off, it won't sink
Uh,
down to the bottom of the lake. So it just floats so you can easily grab it. So that's what he was selling. So I think his cost per sale before working with us was about I think $50. We got it down to about $30 per sale. So there were some good
and
results
in
there.
what time frame? Just a matter of months?
That was if my memory is correct, it's about 2 to 3 months. So
Nice.
that's yeah. So that's client number one. Client number two is a CrossFit e-commerce business. So they sell all things CrossFit, CrossFit shoes, CrossFit gear, and all those things. Um, that was great. So I think that was my big win because I learned a lot from the first client. So for that other client, the CrossFit business, we took them from 5 to 1 ROI, which means for every $1 you spend, you get $5 back. So we took them from 5 to 1 ROI to 12 to 1 ROI at its peak, and on average, we're hitting about 10 to 1 ROI. So yeah, we were working for them for about a year and a half until they got to the stage that hey, thanks, Ken, we cannot afford a marketing manager, so we're not gonna use this guy. So I'm like, okay, sure, happy for you. Yeah, so that's
Yeah, that's
client
what
number two.
happens. You work yourself out of a job sometimes, huh?
Yeah, but it's okay because I have a really good case study which I can then use for more client acquisition because you can't just rely on the current set of clients that you have. You should always be selling.
Sure. Amen. And for the record, I did not pay you to say that, huh?
Oh yeah, no. It's all spontaneous, all authentic.
So now, how'd you get that Forbes 30 under 30? I mean, that's a cool thing to get on.
Hmm.
Did you like systematically? I know in the beginning you said you didn't have a plan, you just went, but
Hmm.
were you specific in trying to get that, or were you
Hmm.
found?
Okay. So just to just kind of like zoom out and tell you the timeline. So I got the award on 2019. So that's last year. I started the business on late 2016. So for about a couple of years, 2016 to 2018, so the agency business got stable. And I thought, hey, it could be cool to get this type of award. So at that time, the agency business was stable, was making money. I had about, I think, 15 employees at that time. So what I did there was that, okay, it would be great for my credibility to have this award, because in the service business, reputation means a lot. Reputation helps you get clients on an inbound basis, meaning you don't have to reach out and hustle like I did in 2016. So they'll come to you. And at the same time, yeah, it also generates trust from day one. So the way I did it was I reverse engineered from existing agency businesses across the world, because there were some agency guys who got into the list in the years prior to when I got onto the list in 2017, 2018. So I reverse engineered and identified that, okay, I need to do or I need to communicate two things in my pitch. One is I need to show that I have a good client base. A good client base meaning I should work with some large clients. So I think this is probably a big deal for Forbes. That's factor number one. And factor number two is that I need to have some story um, of growth, meaning like it could be in terms of employee size or could be terms in terms of revenue growth or revenue size. So I worked backwards from that, and I think for a year I started to focus more on selling to these larger companies. So I closed businesses like Fitness First, which is a global gym business, also has a presence in Southeast Asia, and I closed a couple of other large businesses as well. So they're in
So
the
so
Mhm.
when you go after these larger businesses, what's their thinking? Are you replacing an employee, or have they grown and you're just augmenting their full-time staff? Like, how does that look?
Hmm. Um, because the way larger businesses work is that, at least when I work with small businesses, I work on both strategy and implementation. So small business owners appreciate when I deploy a lot of strategy for them. For larger businesses, they do have a dedicated marketing manager working on the marketing side, but they're only working on the marketing strategy component to it. So in a way, we are just augmenting their existing processes. And they usually have what's called a RFP or request for proposals. So they would open it up to different marketing agencies, and we would just make a pitch for
I hate pitching.
it. Yeah, so it's a rough thing to do because so much competition. Like like people are thinking of new things, and you need to stay ahead of the game. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, that's cool. So
Hmm.
when you do land them,
Hmm.
do you try to secure long-term contracts, or is it like a, let's date before we get married sort of thing?
Mm, I try to secure long-term contracts, at least for these larger companies on day one. Um, so because at least if the scope is something that they've done before through other agencies, then they're pretty amenable to, okay, we've done this before. We think you're better than the other guy, so let's give you a one-year contract. Because they plan in years, not in months or in quarters like smaller
Right.
businesses. Now there are some companies who want a trial. Uh, so for that, the way I structure my contract is, okay, there's a free trial for month one, but I also set extremely clear targets in terms of leads or sales, depending on the business. So if we hit those lead or sales targets, then it should automatically upgrade to the larger one-year plan.
Nice.
And I kind of bump up my retainer a bit for these types of deals because I am taking a lot of risk by giving a free trial for the
So
first
you
month.
offer to work for free, huh?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm not sure if it's a thing in the US, but at least in Asia, it's surprisingly common. Like they'll ask, okay, can we get like a trial for the first month? Even larger businesses would ask that.
Yeah, I don't know if I would do free,
Hmm.
but yeah, if you get full access to their numbers and you
Hmm.
can define the rules of engagement, yeah, I mean, you probably won a lot more of those than you lost, huh?
Yeah. So and again, for context, I don't do this for all like clients. So I
Sure.
think it really depends on the client that I'm talking to. So if I have 110 confidence that yes, we're gonna over deliver on the targets, I'll do that free trial. So I only did it for one business. For all other enterprise businesses, it's no. And today I just don't do it anymore. It's just too much stress for me and too much stress for the manager that's running the account. And we have
Yeah,
built a strong enough reputation that hey, we're a good business. You've heard of us in the news. We're in Forbes, so like we don't do free trials anymore, or we don't
yeah,
do trials at all. So it
sure,
was one of those like day one hustle, just close the deal type of moments for me.
sure. I mean, yeah, that's fine in the beginning.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um, but yeah, as long as you structure it so you can
exactly,
win,
exactly,
right?
correct.
And I like the fact that it immediately converts into the contract. You can't say, okay,
Hmm.
I'm going to get you some business, then we can talk. Like, no, no,
Right.
no, no.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get you from A to B,
Mm-hmm.
and then we go into a 12-month contract. So,
Exactly. Yes.
yeah, I love it. Very cool. So you are, I looked at some of your talking points, and it's
Mm-hmm.
funny because I got a good friend in the ad space. He
Mm-hmm.
teaches it versus doing it anymore. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, he does it for some of his clients, but he's a big fan of Google Display Networks, YouTube advertising over
Mm-hmm.
Facebook right now. And he does, I mean, he'll advertise on all platforms,
Yeah.
but he's saying there's a big ROI right now on Google and YouTube, but you prefer Facebook still, right?
Yep. I still prefer Facebook. Um, Now, to be fair, it really depends on the market. So if it's in the e-commerce space, Facebook has a much higher ROI. For B2B, it also depends because there are some niches in B2B that have so much competition. Like we were working with this IT staffing firm. So what they do is that they help businesses in the West, whether it's US or Canada, they help them find staffing in Southeast Asia or in Europe or whichever country. So they help them find offshore web developers. Now, in that space, it is extremely, extremely competitive. So the cost per clicks that we're getting was about $15 to $20. So as a result, the cost per lead was extremely high for them. So it just wasn't sustainable in their stage of the business because they were still a startup at that time. They were still a new business. Now, there are some niches where it is extremely lucrative. So what we did for that same client is that, hey, instead of like going straight on Python web developers or Rails web developers in the keyword bids, uh, use AWS web developer instead because we identify that this is a small niche with little competitors with very cheap cost per clicks and therefore good ROI on your investment. So we use that and it then turned profitable for them. So the reason why I like Facebook ads in general over Google ads is that you will have less of these like costly CPC type of problems. Because if you think about it, if you look at the number of keywords that you have available, so let's say there's 10 to 15 in your niche, um, and there's a whole lot of competitors bidding on those small set of keywords, the price would be really high, right? Because there's so much demand for that small set of keywords. Facebook is different in the sense that you can target people based on occupation, you can target people based on employer, you can target people based on their interests. So there's hundreds of possible interests or targeting options that you can use in Facebook and even with the same demand, just by the law of supply and demand, because there's so much supply in Facebook, then the cost in general is lesser than that in Google. So that's why, as kind of a shortcut almost, I tend to recommend Facebook ads over Google AdWords, except for very, very exceptional situations like we have this 3D modeling construction services client. So they help architects and engineers do 3D modeling and planning. So for that hyper small niche. It's not a small niche. It's actually a big business, but at least it's a niche on a keyword standpoint. At least for those guys, we do much more Google ads than usual.
Right. Now you mentioned LinkedIn outreach
Yeah.
for lead gen.
Mhm.
Are you doing paid traffic there, or do you just have a process for reaching out?
So we have a process and a plugin because the way we do it is that we use this tool called Linked Helper, Linked space helper. What it does is that it automates the process of sending out connection requests to a whole bunch of people. Now, you shouldn't just go straight to the offer on your connection request. So it has to be like real casual, like, hey, I want to connect with other founders in the marketing space, or I want to connect with other founders in the outdoor e-commerce space. So you try to personalize it a bit. And if there's a conference, you also contextualize it. If there's a conference that, hey, I saw that you're in the um, New York area. There's this conference. Are you going? I would be interested in meeting up. So we try to do it at scale. So we send out about 50 to 100 connection requests per day per account because that's the limit of the terms and conditions of LinkedIn. So we do it in an automated way for our clients to help them get more leads instead of them just doing it manually. Because it's tough because you have to do some work on filtering out some companies because you don't want to accidentally invite your competitors. You want to add in the right rule as part of the search. So, uh, but after you add the keywords for the position, the company, and the area, then you send out the connection requests in bulk, and you try to get these from there.
And you like that better than something like Duck Soup?
Duck Soup. Is that for cold email? Not sure if I.
It's a Chrome extension
Okay.
plug-in, and it can visit profiles. It can send messages. So it looks very similar. So it's probably just whichever one you like.
Yeah. I haven't heard of Duck Soup, interestingly, so I should take a look at that. But it works in the exact same way.
Yeah,
I'm just pretty happy with Linked Helper right now that I
sure.
don't need to look at other solutions.
So are you coaching your client? Because I mean, I see people they do that, but then
Mm-hmm.
they jump right into a pitch. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
there's still some salesmanship involved, right? I think people rely too much on a tool, thinking it's just going to fix everything, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
no.
Yeah.
You still need some
Yeah.
humanity in the process, right?
Yep. So, uh, good point, because the way we actually structure our outreach is that there's outreach, the initial outreach message, but after that, we actually like message people manually. So we contextualize it a bit. So for example, if it's a VP or a principal of the architecture business, or someone that's way too high in the food chain, we'll ask them, hey, we're helping businesses, or we're not helping this, but we're helping like architecture firms do this. For them, it's like regaining more project control because usually the engineers and general contractors kind of like take away the project management part, and architects don't like that. So we pitch the problem or the solution or the benefit in general. And then the next step in that message is uh, we're not sure if you're the right person. If you can let us know who we should talk to, please let us know who we can reach out to in LinkedIn. So we ask that so it's easier for them to forward to someone. But that's for a VP or a principal. But if it's someone in the uh, yeah, pretty much the guys doing the work, the guys in the front lines, then we go straight to a consultative selling approach, meaning we try to jump in on a diagnosis session or a free consultation session, whichever works in your market, to first understand like, is the problem that we're trying to sell is relevant for them.
Mm-hmm. One of the things you mentioned, talking about tire kickers, right? And like,
Mm-hmm.
how can really anybody, I mean, but brick and mortars
Mm-hmm.
especially, how do they get qualified leads, right? Versus the tire kicker, because there's a lot of window shoppers, a lot of people that want, the free guide, the free report. They'll register for the
Mm-hmm.
webinar. Oh, can you send me the recording? And it's like, good grief, are you going to buy anything or just
Mm-hmm.
gobble up free content?
Mm-hmm. So the way we find it is that so there's one like prerequisite here. The prerequisite is that at least for the client that we're working with, they should have at least, or they should have been running their business for at least a year or two, roughly. Because the way we figure that out is that we actually have an interview, or we have a meeting with one of their business development managers or the business owner, if the business owner is running the sales program, and we try to segment the different target markets that they serve. So For example, when we're working with this interior design company, we've identified a few niches. So there's residential, so people who need interior design services for their home. There's the condominium owners, and then there are business owners. Now, in terms of the people who are most qualified, it's definitely the business owners and for some reason the condominium unit owners, because there's like more urgency to kind of furnish something, and there's always a turnover of condominium units every year, at least in Asia, when here like the real estate business is booming in general. So that's what's working for them. That's one criteria, and we then learn from them that there are some specific criteria that needs to be there before they can reach out to someone. So two criteria. One is the actual condominium itself. So one qualification criteria that I have is it should be turned over in this current year. So only reaching out to folks who are about to buy units in the most posh and in the most or in the most recently turned over areas. So it's like it's a literally new condominium. That's criteria number one. And criteria number two is the size of the unit. Okay. So that's how we figure out if a lead is qualified or not for the client. So what happens is in execution on the landing page, there's a simple form and there's extra fields in the form that ask, hey, how large is your home? Is it under 100 square meters or is it over 100 square meters? That's criteria one. Criteria two is are you moving in which condominium? If it's a condominium landing page, so you have a list of condominiums they can select and then they can hit submit. But that's for a business that has been running for a year or two, because they know who's qualified and who's not. If it's a new service business, then the way we do it is that um, we start with how their competition is doing it. So we would see criteria from different competition in the B2B space, and we just copy that as a starting point. But over time, we're gonna A/B test, talk to the client, and then iterate and improve on the form later on.
Very cool. All right.
Mhm.
I like specifics.
Yeah.
um, all right. What we got? Any other question? Anything I missed? Anything you need to get off your chest? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Yeah. So I think I noticed that a lot of so I think at least for folks who are interested in digital marketing work. So at least for us, because if you look at other agencies, they kind of automate the process. So after you submit their email, and then they create an automated audit of some sort, where it's usually linked to a tool to kind of generate a plan for you. We do it differently. So the way I do it at least is that all of our slides and all of our audits and diagnosis are done manually, and it's all complimentary or free. So if there's someone in the audience who kind of needs some help in getting some extra perspective um, on how to plan their digital marketing better, definitely reach out to me on my website. There's a free audit button there, and yeah, you can spend 30 minutes with me specifically. So it's not some manager or anyone. You can get access straight to me, and I'll help you out in figuring out what's the best next path for your growth.
Very cool. And that's give everybody your website. It's monolithgrowth.com, right?
Yep, exactly.
Okay. So, and I'm linking to that there. And then, yeah, very top right, get a free marketing audit. Pretty straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool, man. Well, it's time for some coffee for you to start your day, huh?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
All right, Ken, founder of monolithgrowth.com. Thanks for coming on the show, man. It's been great.
Thank you for inviting me as well.
Hey, I hope you got a lot out of that. I'm going to make this conclusion outro quick. I'm getting all these calls. My sister had me download this app. What's it called? Something House Party. So it connects with your Snapchat. Good thing I had a Snapchat. I haven't logged into that in months, but I had it. So did a house party with my mom, my sister, my son, and another one with my dad, my sister, my son. It's crazy. People are messaging, and I got to go for a run while the police are still letting us run. So then I can eat some cake, drink some. I got some choices. My neighbor gave me some Irish whiskey, a little Jameson. My friend and godfather of my sixth child, I got to keep all these straight. He got me some 15-year Dalmore single blend or single malt. I'm losing my mind. Single blend. So, I got to go run so I can partake. But hey, I hope you appreciated this episode. As I mentioned in the past, please be sure to subscribe and share this. Got some changes coming up once I get through a few more of these guests, but sharing more online. The free group is theimplementors.com. Come hang out with me there and ask more questions. I'm happy to help as much as I can in that group. And then if you want to be part of the Monday calls and get all the videos, on-demand content, and ask questions and have them answered almost real time, 30daysalesgrowth.com. Enter promo code April. I'm doing a 50% discount right now for you. So that's on the month-to-month or the half year or the annual. You get to pick, okay? Come join, stay plugged in, grow, okay? Thanks for listening. I'll go sell something.